Hello class, welcome back to the week 11 material, and in this final segment we're going to cover some other useful tidbits that will make your life a lot easier when operating the command line interface. So with that we'll go ahead and dive right into it. So again, we're going to go right back onto the server using the SSH command that we've been using so much more before. So again, hopefully this is becoming a little bit more routine. Alright, now that we're on the server we can go ahead and get started. So a couple other tidbits that I do want to go ahead and cover. First of which is something called the cat command, which doesn't involve felines in any way. It's actually short for concatenate. But in practicality, usually you'll use this command to see what the contents of a text file are without having to open it. So again, I'll go back to the ls just to show you or remind you what all is what all we've been working with so far. So let's say that I want to see what the contents of a file are, but I don't want to go through the process of using gany. I don't want to open the graphical window and then close it. I just want to see what's actually in the file. I don't actually want to edit the contents of the file. And that's where the cat command comes into play. So if you say cat and then the file that you're interested in catting, or for lack of a better term, basically all that's going to do is that's just going to spit out the contents of the file for you to see. And you can use this on, technically you can use this on any file at all, but I will go ahead and demonstrate what happens if you use it on maybe a file you shouldn't use this on, but I can go ahead and say cat example3.py. That'll also show me what's inside the contents of that file. So using this cat command is a really shorthand and quick way to see what the contents of a file are if that's the only thing that you're interested in. Again, just one last demonstration. You can see it just simply prints out the contents of the file to the screen. Now I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate what happens if you use this on something that's not a text file. First of all, I'll go ahead and demonstrate what happens if you try to use this on something that's a directory. So I'll say sample or cat sample1, which you can see is a directory here. You can tell it's a directory because it's highlighted blue. And you'll get this lovely message. Cat, whatever the directory was, is a directory. So if you use this on a directory, you're going to get this message. If you want to see the contents of a directory, that involves the ls command and not the cat command. And then another thing I don't recommend using the cat command on, even though technically you can do this, is a binary file such as an image file. And I'll go ahead and demonstrate what happens with that. So here you can see these files that are highlighted in pink here, those are in fact image files. So if I want to see what the contents of an image file are, well, first let me go ahead and show you what happened if you try to cat an image file. So let's say climo0.png. Let's see what happens if I were to cat that image file. Cat climo0.png. This is the result that you're going to get if you apply the cat command to a binary file. Yeah, not very helpful. And this actually, there's a lot of stuff to this. Yeah, I'm going to be scrolling for a while, so let's just, yeah, that's a lot of information to sift and sort through. So that's why I don't recommend using the cat command on a binary file, especially one as large as an image. You can do it, you can technically do it, but I don't know what kind of use you're going to get out of all this nonsense that just got dumped to the screen here. And also, one of the lovely things about this is it will actually type stuff in your command line that you don't actually want and that you didn't actually type. So again, technically you can use the cat command on a binary file, but I don't think you're going to get very much use out of it. Now, you might be wondering, how exactly do I view an image file if there is in fact a pretty picture that I want to look at? If I can't use a cat command, what do I use? There's a Linux program called Eye of Gnome, which the command to use that program is simply EOG. So EOG and then the name of the image file that you want to look at. And this is kind of along the same lines as opening any graphical display at all. So if I put the ampersand at the end here, it will preserve the command line. But this will actually open the image file in a way that's a lot easier to interpret than what we had here. So that's And there you can see it opens up this nice little graphic showing us what that image actually looks like. So 184.5 kilobytes, that means there's roughly 185,000 characters that got dumped to the screen here, which is a lot of information. No question about it. So that's one tidbit that you might find useful, the EOG command and the cat command, which kind of do the same thing. It's just you use one on an image file and the other you used on just regular text files. Another command that you might get some use out of is the history command. If you type the history command, this will actually show you all of the commands that you've typed up to that point on the server. So if you forget what a command does, or if you want to try to remember a command that you typed out before, then you can type the history command. It'll show you all of the previous commands that you have typed on the server. So yeah, there's a lot here that I personally did, and I think it goes up to 1,000 slots. So 1,000 entries in the history. So you're probably not going to be using all of that, but who knows? You might be end up typing 1,000 commands on the server at some point. But it'll keep track of how many commands you type. So if you're really curious about that information, then there is a way to figure that out. And the other nice thing about the history command is it automatically puts the most recent stuff towards the end. So you don't have to scroll all the way up to see what the most recent thing you typed is. As you go up the list, as you scroll up, then you'll go towards stuff that you typed longer ago in the distant past, or whatever distant past might exist. And the last little tidbit that I want to introduce is something called pipe grep, which gets kind of interesting. So again, I'll go ahead and go back to the home directory and type ls. And actually, I changed my mind. I'm going to demonstrate this in the directory I was currently in, because there is something in here that I actually want to go ahead and demonstrate. So one of the things that you can do, so you saw what happened if we try to cat a file that has a lot of information in it. It just all shows up on the screen, and it's really kind of annoying to deal with. So there is something you can do to sort of narrow down the output that you get from a command. So one command that gives you some sort of output is the ls command. That is, you type a command in, you put a command into the command line, and you get something printing out to the screen as a result. If you want to filter through some of the results, then you can use the pipe grep to take whatever output you get from the command and highlight or only pick out results that have a certain character sequence in them. And hopefully this will make a little bit more sense once I actually demonstrate this. So here I'll type the ls command, which we know for a fact that produces some sort of output. And then I'm going to type a vertical line. And the way that you get this is you hold down the shift key and hit the backslash key, which should be in between the backspace or delete key and the enter or return key. A little backslash, you hold shift down and hit that key in between the delete and the enter key. You should get this little vertical line showing up. And then grep is the command. And let's say I'm only interested in HTML files. And one of the other nice things about this the server is it will automatically highlight the text that the grep command was told to look for. So you can see, instead of listing out every single file, here it only listed out the files that had HTML somewhere in the name of the file. So more generally speaking, whatever you grep, whatever you give the grep command, it will only give you any sort of results that have this character sequence anywhere in the results. So in this case, the results I would normally get with the ls command is a list of every single file, but by applying a grep, it's only going to print out any files that have the HTML character sequence in them. And you can use this on any command at all that gives you any sort of output. So if you're Pythoning a program and you're only interested in a specific print statement or a specific piece of information your program is getting to you, you can use the grep command to accomplish that. Or you can use this on the cat command, and we'll go ahead and look at, so this killer tornadoes.csv file, that's the same data set that I had you guys analyze in the week 9 assignment. And one really shorthand way to get some piece of information that we're interested in is to cat this file and then grep it. So let's say I'm only interested in the killer tornadoes that were rated F5 or EF5. So I can cat the file, and I'll go ahead and demonstrate what happens if you just cat this file without the grep. And yeah, that's a lot of information to sort through. So let's try and narrow that down. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the up arrow key to recall that command, and then pipe grep. Let's say I'm only interested in the F5 or EF5 tornadoes, so it's only going to give me output where it finds this character sequence, a capital F followed by the number 5. Anything else is not going to show up to the screen. And you can see that's a lot easier to sort through. And you see it does in fact highlight the individual entries that match the grep that we had here. So grep command, very useful for filtering out results that you're not interested in. You can also use the ls command to do some of this, but grep command will work. Grep will work for you no matter what the command is. As long as the command gives you some sort of output to begin with, whatever that might be, the grep command will work for it. ls command works in more specific cases. Grep command will work in a lot more cases, a lot more commands. So I think that's going to do it for this final segment. There's another thing that actually. Yeah, I think that's going to do it. I said there was going to be another thing, but I was looking at something else on my notes here, so don't worry about that. But that's going to be the last segment on the week 11 material. So that should give you everything you need to complete the week 11 assignment more efficiently. So with that, I'll bring the week 11 material to an end, and see you guys in week 12.